Hello, freakazoids! Yeah, I'm actually communicating with Becky Patty real quick, so it might be a minute. But in the meantime, you can watch the images of the people who've bought mugs and shirts. The freaks, in other words, just like me. Hey, Odris. Yeah, you left last night when we were trying to get that link that you sent, but we found it. It just didn't seem as ominous as what you were saying. Oh, does it? Okay, let me go fix that. I thought I already changed that. That's weird. Sometimes when you make the update on the live stream and then you hit this refresh button, it doesn't change anything. It's kind of weird. All right, there we go. Thanks for letting me know that. And it should be check now and see if it's fresh or refreshed. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we should get started. It's good news, however. An arrest has been made finally in the Rhoden massacre, basically. The Rhoden family massacre. Unbelievable case, really. I followed it early on quite a bit, like the first couple weeks, but it went colder quicker than any case I've ever heard of. And we now know why, because the family was really careful about trying to cover up what they did. But as in all crimes, they always leave something behind. All right. Do you guys want to listen to the press conference? It's pretty long. I mean, we can skip around if you want, but if you're interested, we could listen to the press conference that happened today. What do you think? Okay, here we go.
Good afternoon. We promised that the day would come when arrests would be made in the Pike County massacres. Today is that day.
This guy looks really familiar. I think I saw him back in the day.
Yesterday, a Pike County grand jury indicted 4 individuals for aggravated murder with death penalty specifications.
Yeah, if there's ever a case that deserved death, it's this one.
George Billy Wagner III, his wife Angela Wagner, and their sons, George Wagner IV and Edward Jake Wagner.
It's a
After an
motley-looking
extensive,
crew
thorough
there, huh?
joint investigation by the Attorney General's office, the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, as well as our Special Prosecution Section, and Pike County Sheriff Charles Reeder's office. These 4 individuals are now in custody for allegedly committing this heartless, ruthless, cold-blooded murder.
So just to give you a background, the Rhoden family and a family member, one other family, like somebody who was married to one of the other people, were all murdered the same night at around the same time in this, in Ohio, in a really kind of a remote area. There's no street view even on it. Let me show you on the map. These pins right here are from the same day that they were killed. I put these in there because this information was in the news. So this family all lived along this stretch here, and I think there was another one maybe over in this area. I don't remember it all completely now, but they were all killed the same night. The only people that they allowed to live were some really young children. But they absolutely massacred this entire family. And it's amazing how, it's a big story, but it wasn't really that big. It should have been a huge story. This is one that movies are made of. It's crazy. The only thing is there was very little information. Now, I know there's some Facebook groups out there that were on to the right family the entire time, and I posted this video in there. Hopefully they'll call in later. It'd be nice to hear people that were convinced from the beginning that it was this family. Obviously there's some telltale signs. The commonality between the Wagner family and the Rhoden family was a baby that one of the Rhoden family members had with. This is when I first heard of this case, I thought of the Hatfields and McCoys, right? I never bought into the cartel angle, anything like that. I thought maybe there was drug related, but that's about it. But there's a connection with the baby, and apparently that's the motive of the entire thing. You take out an entire family. But let's continue playing this.
These are the faces of the victims, an entire family and members of their extended family massacred. Many of them were killed as they slept. They are Christopher Rhoden Sr., age 40. His ex-wife, Dana Manley Rhoden, age 37. Their children, Hannah Mae Rhoden.
Hey, he's going to read off the names, but let me read what I'm actually looking at Wikipedia, believe it or not. But Christopher Rhoden, 16. He was shot multiple gunshot wounds to the head. Christopher Rhoden Sr., 40. Multiple gunshot wounds to the head, torso, and limbs. Clarence Frankie Rhoden, 20, eldest son, and Christopher Rhoden Sr., father of surviving 6-month-old and 3-year-old children. So there was a 6-month-old and a 3-year-old that didn't get killed. At least they had a little bit of heart for them. Multiple gunshot wounds to the head. Ex-wife of Christopher Rhoden, multiple gunshot wounds to the head and neck. Gary Rhoden, cousin of Christopher Sr. and Kenneth Rhoden, multiple gunshot wounds to the head. Hannah Mae Rhoden, daughter of Dana Christopher Rhoden, Sr., mother of the surviving 4-day-old child, multiple gunshot wounds to the head. Hannah Hazel Gilley, fiance of Clarence Rhoden, mother of surviving 6-month-old child, multiple gunshot wounds to the head. Kenneth Rhoden, 44, brother of Christopher Rhoden Sr., single gunshot wound to the head. See, they were all just absolutely executed in there, and it turns out that they used homemade silencers. It's unbelievable, really. When this goes to trial, it'll probably be one of the craziest things you've ever heard in terms of planning to murder.
Age 19, Christopher Rhoden Jr., age 16, Clarence Frankie Rhoden, age 20, and his fiancee, Hannah Hazel Gilley, age 20. Further, Christopher Rhoden's brother, Kenneth Rhoden, age 44, their cousin, Gary Rhoden, age 38.
Well, they're all death qualified. Every one of them has a death penalty.
All 8 victims were killed in cold blood.
As a charge.
They were shot in their
penalty.
own homes. They were brutally and viciously executed. The killers knew the territory and meticulously planned these horrendous murders.
For months.
The 8 victims left behind an extended grief-stricken family, including 4 young children. Thankfully, in their only show of mercy, the killers spared the 3 children at the scenes. Children then ages 3 years of age, 6 months, and 5 days.
Jeez.
At the center of this case were members of one family whom we believe the evidence will show conspired together to kill these 8 people, 8 of their friends. 4 members of the Wagner family, a husband, a wife, their 2 adult sons, are all now facing numerous charges, including 8 counts of aggravated murder each, 1 count for each victim. The aggravated murder charges also include death penalty specifications for all 4 suspects. Now, because this is an open prosecution, we won't be able to say much about motive, but you'll see from the indictments that custody of that young child plays a role in this case. We believe that the Wagners conspired together to develop an elaborate...
Hey, does anybody know if it was the 4-day-old or the 6-month-old child that was the issue here? Does anybody know which one that was?
...plan to kill the 8 victims under the cover of darkness and then carefully cover up their tracks.
Yeah,
we believe the evidence will show that the suspects spent...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to keep stopping, but I always have these thoughts. The thing is people keep going, God, what a weird motive. What a weird... Look at these kind of people that live out in these towns, like the people in Deliverance. It's like a clan, okay? They stick together. It's totally different than any reality that you have, okay? So don't get surprised by the motive.
Months planning the crimes. They studied the victims' habits and their routines. They knew the layouts of their homes. They knew where they slept.
Isn't that crazy?
And then after executing each victim, we believe the evidence will further show that the suspects tampered with the evidence, such as the victims' phones and the surveillance cameras on their properties. Now, as in all killings, even those that are methodically planned,
well, yeah, it was planned for months and months. It's not unknown.
It's our job to find those mistakes.
The indictment even mentions 4 months before the murders.
We've been gathering evidence in this case for about 2.5 years. In July of this year, at the request of prosecutors with my office's Special Prosecution Section, along with the Pike County Prosecuting Attorney Rob Junk, a judge impaneled an investigative grand jury to meet regularly to examine all the evidence we had collected over the course of the investigation and further to gather additional evidence. This investigation began the day of the murders. and with investigators discovering the last piece of significant physical evidence on October 30th of this year. The examination of that evidence was completed a few days later on November 7th. This particular evidence, along with all the other pieces of this giant puzzle, all the other key evidence in this investigation, have led us to today's charges and arrests. In addition to aggravated murder, these 4 family members are also charged with a number of other offenses. They include conspiracy, engaging in a pattern of corrupt activity, aggravated burglary for allegedly breaking into the Rhoden's home to commit the crimes, tampering with evidence, unlawful possession of a dangerous ordinance, unauthorized use of property, interception of wire, oral, or electronic communications, and finally, obstruction of justice. The 4 suspects are also all facing charges of forgery for allegedly forging child custody documents. Two other people were also arrested today in conjunction with the cover-up of these crimes. And let me again emphasize, these 2 individuals were arrested in regard to the cover-up of these crimes. Angela's mother, Rita Newcomb, and Billy's mother, Frederica Wagner.
Like I said, a clan.
The charges against these 2 suspects relate to their alleged actions to mislead our authorities. Let me just take a moment to thank everyone who's been involved in this investigation. Without question, this has been by far the longest, most complex, and labor-intensive investigation the Ohio Attorney General's office has ever undertaken. It's been the most sophisticated, the biggest operation BCI has ever undertaken. Our investigators, our analysts have lived this case, have lived it. It has been all-consuming for them.
I bet.
But each one of us pledged never to give up. And not as day has gone by that we've not thought about the Rhoden family, the Gilley families, and the Manley families. Our team of state and local investigators and prosecutors has been unconditionally dedicated to solving this case. They sacrificed time with their own families in pursuit of justice for the families of the victims. From the arrival of our BCI crime scene units on the morning of April 22nd, 2016, to now, we have never stopped working towards justice for the victims. And I asked my team to do an estimate, and this is all it really is, of the amount of time that was spent in this investigation. This would include the time of the Sheriff's Office. This would include the time of BCI. This would include our investigators. This would include our lab. And it was tens of thousands of hours. No way really to know exactly. We have followed more than 1,100 tips from the public. We conducted 550 interviews, served more than 200 subpoenas, search warrants, and court orders, and tested more than 700 items of evidence. The team also traveled thousands of miles to 10 separate states as a direct result of this investigation. That includes...
Yeah, the family actually, the Wagner family, moved to Alaska. And I don't know how soon after the murders they moved, because they got custody of that one child that was the union between the Wagners and the Rhodens. And then they moved to Alaska, and I don't know how long it took them to move there, but then they came back this spring for some reason. I wonder why that was. It seems really strange that you would come back, and now they're arrested. And I'm glad they came back.
Some very significant time in Alaska, where the Wagner family moved before coming back to Pike County.
No, well, you just said that.
Our team used innovative new technology. Well, let me just tell you, What solved this case was just hard, tough police work, day after day after day. These men and women never gave up. They were as frustrated as we all were. They wanted to solve the case immediately. But they continued to work and put the pieces of the puzzle together.
You know, this is one of those cases where it'd be cool to find that one moment where somebody found a thread that they started going down, and they kept going down that road because there was no leading off of it. They kept finding things that worked. It'd be interesting to know what that was.
We always felt from the beginning that the perpetrators were very familiar with the victims in their homes, and the Wagners certainly were. To the Rhoden family, the Manley family, the Gilly families, I know that the past 2.5 years has been very, very tough, agonizing. And frankly, none of us really understand how tough it has been for them.
Yeah. Well, in this press conference, you'll hear later that the sheriff, he's actually had security this whole time. Based on, I mean, this really is sort of the backwoods, scary part of, America where we don't really see very much. Again, the people right out of Deliverance.
We appreciate your
maybe
patience.
A step up, okay? A step up.
We appreciate that very much. We appreciate your faith in us and the process. It has been our job to find the truth. We have done that painstakingly, month after month after month. And that has all led to today. This, of course, is not the end. Rather, it is a new day in this case as we work to hold those allegedly who committed these unspeakable murders accountable and get a measure of justice for the victims as we take this case to trial in Pike County Common Pleas Court.
This guy looks like a character on TV or something.
I want to again thank all the investigators, all the analysts, everyone who has worked on this case, and the prosecuting attorneys for their steadfast determination to solve the crime. They never wavered. They never gave up. They always thought they could solve it. I would also stress that we would not be here today without the help of a long, long list of local, state, and federal agencies that provide assistance with this case. More than 4 dozen agencies provided some support in this investigation. This was truly, truly a collaborative effort. Let me just say that Sheriff Reeder.
Oh, there you go,
has been
George
a great
Burns.
partner.
That's right. There you go.
From the very beginning.
I knew he looked like somebody.
Literally,
good call
from
there.
that
Good
morning,
call.
when the
Roxanne
sheriff
said it
called
first,
us.
though. Give her credit.
This has been a true partnership. It's been a true partnership with the sheriff, but also with the men and women of his department. And I would like now to invite the sheriff to come up
And playing the part
and make some
of
comments.
Once again, I would like to let the family members know that my thoughts and prayers are with them, as they have been daily since April 22nd of 2016. I'd only been sheriff of Pike County less than a year before April 22nd of 2016. And that day changed a lot of our lives, including mine. The images of the houses, the bodies, the scenes, I can never erase them. Even 20 years of law enforcement experience cannot prepare you fully for a day like that day. Every single day since that day we have worked as a team to figure out who did this in Pike County.
he spells
where I've
team,
spent my entire
T-E-I-M.
We have obsessively focused on solving this case. We've been patient when it was painful to be, running down every lead, no matter how small.
What's funny about this case is my friend Heather, she's the one that sent me the link this morning, but she's been in this group and she brings it up every so often. In the last, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months or so, she kept bringing it up. So it's kind of cool that it's been solved. Sometimes these cases start becoming, let's say there's a case that you're following on social media and then it slowly starts ramping up for no reason. That means there really is some information coming out, because I actually went back and last year they were looking for this family, the Wagner family. So I think at that point it sort of ramped up a little bit. And finally, I guess they came back, and I'm not sure why it took them so long to arrest them after they came back, but they probably wanted to catch them on some things. You know, maybe they did some bugging. Maybe got some DNA samples during this 5 or 6 months that they've been back from Alaska.
But it all has brought us to this day. Today we have the answer. Members of one family conspired, planned, carried out, and then allegedly covered up their violent act to wipe out members of another family. They did this quickly, coldly, calmly, and very carefully. But not carefully enough. They left traces. They left a trail.
Yeah.
The parts to build a silencer. The forged documents.
Hey, Katie from Germany. All right. Thank you for showing up. Awesome.
The cameras, cell phones. All that they tampered with. And the lies. All the lies they told us. I want to thank the High Attorney General.
Or is that Kathy? I've never seen Kathy spelled that way. Okay, Kathy.
Now Governor-elect Mike DeWine. When this first happened, I responded to that horrific crime. I made several calls. One was to the Attorney General's office asking for assistance. One was to my Major Dave Roos asking for prayers. And the other was asking for the victim services from the High Attorney General's office. Because it was something that I knew I had never dealt with. And certainly anyone coming before me or
Patriot
behind me
Angel?
hadn't.
Or Angle?
And he made a promise that he would stay here in Pike County. They would not go. They'd not leave us. They'd be here to the end. And today that man stands beside me once again to let you know that that day has come. That the arrests have been made. The team went nowhere. They stayed here. And they took care of Pike County like they said they would. He has been a leader I want to be by my own side in an investigation like this and in the journey for justice. He and his prosecutors, along with his team at the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigations, pledged their commitment and resources on day one. And as you see, continue.
I mean, I can probably fast forward a little bit, but let's see.
Pike County is a resilient community.
Because he doesn't really talk about.
Very small.
Let's see.
Since day one as well.
Let me get back.
72111. Today is a very good day. A brighter day here in Pike County. Thank you.
Sure. Let me now introduce Rob Junk, who is the...
You know, the one thing that the sheriff has a unfortunate hairstyle. Because if you look at this, look at his hair, and then this guy in the picture over here.
Any tips or information?
Look at that right there.
Call the 1-855 BCI Ohio.
I noticed that earlier. I was like, oh, jeez.
740-947-2111. Today is a very good day. A brighter day here in Pike County. Thank you.
Sure. Let me now introduce Rob Junk, who is the county prosecuting attorney. He has been with us since day one as well. Rob.
Thank you, General DeWine.
Well, I think those are driver's license
Good afternoon,
images
ladies
there.
and gentlemen.
I don't think those
Pike
are
County Prosecutor Rob Junk. I want everyone to
mugshots.
take a minute and remember what these cases are actually about. 8 members of the Rhoden, Gilly, and Manley families brutally murdered in the middle of the night on April 22nd, 2016. Our sympathies continue to be with their loved ones. First, I'd like to thank Attorney General Mike DeWine for the assistance he has extended to Pike County during the investigation of these Rhoden, Gilley, Manley homicides. He and his staff, especially the BCI agents, the men and women of BCI and their analysts, and their attorneys in the Special Prosecutions Unit, have been invaluable.
This guy has weird facial expressions.
I also want to
This is one of those guys that if he was arrested for something and he looked exactly like right after this, just watch this guy's mannerism. And if he was arrested for something, you guys would all be, oh my God, he's guilty. Look at how he smiled there. He did. But look, he's not guilty of anything. This is how he is. So, but imagine him being arrested for something and he acted exactly like this. Now, when I say you guys, I don't mean every one of you. I'm talking about the ones that always judge every single way somebody looks in an interview. But look at this guy. I found it odd the whole time I was watching him, but he's obviously not part of the crime. So,
extend the thanks to all the other law enforcement agencies who assisted us as well. We're a small county with correspondingly small staff and budgets. And this investigation would not have been possible without Attorney General DeWine's and his office's assistance. I want to thank the BCI agents and analysts who spent this countless hours working on the case and never gave up. I'd also like to recognize Major Al Lewis of the Pike County Sheriff's Office, who recently retired and wanted to finish this case out. He spent the same amount of time as the agents and analysts and was with it for day one. He was an integral
every time I see George
there
Burns,
from
I
the
think
beginning.
of, oh God.
And now that this investigation has concluded and
Or-
these indictments have been issued,
I think
we
he was
now
in
enter
Heaven
the
Can Wait,
prosecution
too.
phase.
Yeah.
And the issuance of an indictment by the grand jury, I do need to emphasize, is merely a formal accusation.
I think. I don't know.
All
Maybe.
these
I can't remember
defendants
now.
under the law are presumed innocent until proven guilty.
I don't know. No, he wasn't in Heaven Can Wait. I don't think.
I want to emphasize
Or
to
somebody
everyone
else.
that this will be a long process. We have 4
Well,
defendants
maybe he was. Shit, now I
charged
can't
with
remember.
the homicide of 8 victims, and all 4 of them with death penalty specifications.
Yes, he's got a large cranium.
We have 2 other defendants who are charged with assisting these offenses, covering them up. And I would indicate to you that it would most likely be several years before all these cases are concluded to trial at the court level. This has been one of the most complicated and extensive investigations in Ohio history, with a corresponding
George
amount
Burns
of
says
potential
something kind of
witnesses
interesting near
and
the
evidence.
end.
There is a lot of hard work ahead of us. I
No,
cannot emphasize
there's no
that
way they
enough.
confess
An
to it.
indictment
Not
is
a
only the
chance.
beginning of the case. There'll be numerous hearings and motions that we will need to fight through.
This won't go to
before
trial
any of
for
these cases go to
5
trial.
years minimum.
And we as prosecutors and investigators are limited by law as far as what we can talk about to you. We can't talk about any evidence or details about these cases. I would ask that everyone bear with us because of this. And once these cases have been prosecuted to conclusion, we will be able to speak freely to you. In the meantime, I would ask everyone to please remember the Rhoden, Gilley, and Manley families. No one can truly know the pain and anguish that they've suffered. Please keep them in their prayers. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Just a couple more
Hello.
comments.
H-Dog.
One thing I think for the citizens of Pike County in this part of the state that we should point out, we have absolutely no evidence that anyone else is involved. We have absolutely no evidence that anyone else is involved except the individuals who are arrested.
There might be some more cover-up people that are arrested, but
I also want to
sounds like they got their
reiterate
people.
what the prosecuting attorney said. These are all allegations, and we always must say this. The defendants who are arrested today are presumed innocent until proven guilty. This case will be prosecuted by prosecuting attorney Junk and special prosecutors from the Ohio Attorney General's office. They will, of course, be working with Ohio's new Attorney General, Dave Yost, who I briefed.
Oh, did you see that? Look at that.
Several
It must be edited. They changed.
uh,
Look at that. Look at
Ohio's
that.
new attorney.
Look at that. It's an alien. See, they must have traded him out with a fake person right there. You see that? Look at that. The eyes, yeah. Try to explain that to the Kanika Jenkins watchers. Okay? Try to explain that to them. They'll just believe it's an alien.
General Dave Yost.
It's a shapeshifter. That's right.
Several hours ago in regard to these arrests, and who will receive a more thorough briefing in the next few days. We're more than happy to respond to any questions anybody has.
Where is Sophia right now? The little girl.
My understanding is that Children's Services is involved, and that's really all I can say.
Mike, that last key piece of evidence you alluded to that was found on October the 30th, can you at least give us an idea about the type of evidence?
It was physical evidence. I don't really want to go into that further, but let me really be clear. This is not a situation where you had one additional piece of evidence that was tipped the case. This is a cumulative process. This has been a very meticulous putting together of the pieces of the puzzle. And for many of you, I used this example in the past. It is like a 1,000-piece puzzle. And you just literally, because we had no witnesses, everybody who was a witness was dead. And so you start with nothing, and you start putting those pieces together. So
Or
this
too
was
young to
one more
recognize.
piece. I wanted to make sure I gave you the dates so that everyone understood this was a continuing process.
Have you spoken to any members of the Rhoden
Wait,
family?
right here.
What do you know about why the Wagners moved back from Alaska?
I can't comment on that.
Have you spoken to any members of the Rhoden family?
See, that makes you kind of wonder if
Yeah,
they
we met
tricked him into
Sheriff
coming
and
back.
I and the prosecutor.
Because why wouldn't you
just
be able to
met
say,
a
oh,
few
well, they
minutes
came back because they
ago
thought to...
with many of the members of the family. We wanted to talk directly to them. As you may recall, we've met with them on a number of occasions in the past. We wanted them to hear it from us before we actually held this press conference.
Attorney General, how did the Wagners conduct themselves when they were arrested today?
You'd have to ask the sheriff that.
I have here the places that they were arrested. And I'm very thankful.
my friend
that I can
Ada
report
sent
to you
me
that
a video
the
of
arrest
one of them
went
being arrested. I think it was
without incident.
the tall guy, the guy on the
No
left.
one was injured.
Huge guy.
Neither suspect nor law enforcement. And that the children were fine. And again, Children's Services are taking care of the children. George Billy Wagner was arrested in Fayette County, Kentucky this morning after several of my units and some BCI agents basically followed him where he arrived in Kentucky, and we reached out to the Fayette County, Kentucky Sheriff's Office, and they assisted in that stop where he was apprehended without incident.
Okay, let's see. Let's play that video because I actually have it right here. George Wagner. Look at this guy. He's huge. Looks like a football player. I mean, look how big that guy is. He probably looks like he's about 6'6", about 300. Yeah, I don't know where Daro's working, so she might be more tired now. She says she's always listening. Where are you, Daro? Wow, was he driving in that? Is that what the W stands for? Wagner? Right here? Yep. Wow. That's crazy. They were doing so well. Hey, Daro. Okay, you really do listen in. That's wild. Okay. Yeah, I figured they had horses since that's a trailer that carries horses. Makes sense. Okay. Well, that's all they had for that. That's the clip. Just a moment. Where the hell is that? Oh, there it is. Okay.
The prosecutors are going to have to present the case with some of the individuals involved. Yeah, there was an undercurrent of drugs. There's
drugs
no
has something to
evidence
do with it, but it doesn't
of
seem to be the
speculation
motive.
that this was drug necessarily.
But people did
drug-related in the
drugs.
sense
Undercurrent,
motive,
he said.
but, there's an undercurrent there, and I want to be very careful because the prosecutors are going to have to present the case at trial, and I don't want to say something.
How's your work going, Daro?
So there's an undercurrent of drugs. Yeah, there's an undercurrent there of drugs, and it's.
Governor-elect Schaefer here. Was Frederica Wagner arrested at Flying W? We saw your SWAT teams barrel.
Well, it's good to see you back out there, though, Daro. Good job.
But
Need one
yes,
thing.
she was the only one that was there.
She was the only one. No other kids on the property.
No one else. And I would like to follow up on yours. You know, as far as what we had reported, we were very careful and very considerate of a family, of 3 families that lost 8 members. And I know how it affected me in this community, the shockwave.
Well, thanks,
My
Daro. I
office,
got one on right now.
deputies, those law enforcement that come in to help us. And I could only imagine with the effect that it had on us, what it had on the family.
Hey, Daro, real quick. Do you want me? I could do a different version where it just says Nefarious across the chest, but on the back is the big version of the creepy guy. What do you think of that? Or do you want me to just keep the ones that are out there now?
And back then, I was very clear in the fact that regardless of what we found, regardless of what aerial views that were showed, reported, that no one deserved in the dark of the night for cowards to come in while sleeping and execute them in a way that would be unbelievable to anyone, including law enforcement. So regardless of if we found marijuana on the property,
What are you referring to,
vehicles,
Lily? I
everything
don't have a
that
clue
we've
what you're
done,
talking
we've
about.
done because of the victims had no voice and were their voice now. Everybody that's investigated the case, we were working an 8-person homicide, not a marijuana grow room. And I believe today, as I did back then, that they deserve more respect because they are true victims of a heinous crime that's never been seen before.
Okay, I'll make that new version.
Than to now speak of. We're talking about arresting the people responsible for murdering 8 people in this county. We're not talking about those 8 people having marijuana grow. And I think in 2.5 years we can get over that. Yes?
I just wanted to know, when you met with the Rhodens today, you and Mr. DeWine,
The
what was
rodents.
that like for you
Jeez.
after so long? And can you, what did they say? How are they?
No,
Well, how
they're
any
not
human
little
being would be.
mice. Okay.
Today's a great day. I said we were coming, and when I said that, I meant it.
Yeah,
And
but it
this
sounds like
staff
the
has
person
made
said
sure
rodents.
They've never missed a beat, and they've headed that direction for 2.5 years, and today's the day that we've made the arrest. To finally look at a family that had questions.
Oh
that
God,
you
here
could
comes
finally answer,
Daro and Ada.
Still have questions
Kissy cheek, back and
to
forth.
finally let them know that today is the day and they have some justice today. That's great. But as I explained to the family, I worked for the prosecutor for 6.5 years. So now it's time for prosecution to begin. So will they have justice? Yes. Are they still going to miss birthdays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter? Are they still going to miss all those special times together? There's nothing we can do. There's nothing so great that we can do to give those 8 people back. We can't. And that's going to be the only thing that'll give them the true what they want, because we're human beings and that's what we want. But we've done what we can for them. We've met with them first out of complete respect for the family and what they've been through. They've lost other loved ones waiting on this investigation. I can't make time stand still. Neither could the investigative staff.
Well, get George Burns next to you. He'll do it.
We
He can make
sincere.
time stand still.
We can
He's
keep
God.
them alerted to what we're doing. We can keep them apprised, like the prosecutor said, on the prosecution end of it, of what to expect next, what's going to be filed, like 100 motions, I believe the prosecutor spoke of. So in my heart, it crushes me that, yes, I can look at him today and I can be happy. The team's done great. We're here today with you saying the people's in jail. We've got them. But now we begin the prosecution side of this, and now the family's going to have to wait again. They're going to want answers again. They're not going to understand some of the things that goes through the court process, because prosecutors do that, not us. And again, I feel that they're going to be victimized because they've got to be at court instead
Who's
of at home.
Gypsy? What are you talking about?
They've got to
Hey,
see
Lily,
this
are you
again.
talking about this case right here?
You guys are doing what you do.
Because that's what
We do
we're
what we
we're
do.
going
I
over
appreciate
is
you
this one,
greatly, but
not
the
some
family
other
gets
one.
to see this again 2.5 years later, reminded of 8 lives lost way too soon, reminded of everything that they've gone through, reminded they've lost more waiting for this that never got to see this, and they feel guilty about that, and so do I.
Hey, by the way, if you're watching the video, hit the like button. All right, or dislike button, whichever you feel like. But can you just, at least if you're watching it, hit the like button so you can help me out on YouTube a little bit? Thanks.
But in the end, that's what I believe when talking
like pulling
to them.
teeth.
I want to prepare them. Yes, today it's a great day. Justice is here. But it's going to be much, much sweeter when the prosecution's done. But in that, they're going to have to get through a whole lot to reach that stage. They're going to endure much more time than they've endured already.
The Wagner family attorney has said the Wagners look forward to their day in court, and that they hope that the true culprits of this crime are finally apprehended. And so, Attorney General, first, want to ask you to reiterate, to be clear, there's no one else that you have that is suspect in this. And could you share what Attorney General Lectios' reaction was when you spoke with him today?
The attorney.
Oh, I remember. I know but I know the case you're talking about. I never remembered her name, but that's that little mousy-like girl and her mother who had the fake. They made it sound like she was in need, and they got donations and everything, but she was just being used by the mother. And then that girl and her boyfriend killed the mother. Right? Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah. This is totally fake, bogus.
General-elect Yost was happy and congratulated the team. And I don't have any comments in regard to what defense attorney said. I'll go back and what I said before.
I don't
and
believe in
think
any of
this
that
is important for
Munchausen
the people of Pike
bullshit.
County in this part of the state. We have absolutely no evidence that anyone else was involved.
That's somebody
People who did it
inventing
are
something to
investigated.
help somebody get out of something.
Can you say how quickly the Wagner family's
Munchausen by proxy. Oh, hey, that's how I can get out of this.
I'm not going to go into that. What I will say is this is, you know, they
Yeah, we've
clearly
talked
have
about the
been
Jamie Kloss case
the
a million
prime suspects
times.
for some time. You know, cases sort of take on a life of their own. They have to evolve.
Okay, my thoughts on the Jamie Kloss case. She's still missing. I'm just kidding. Yeah. I think that she was... I think there's 2 possibilities. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. I think one that's has a decent chance of being reality is that she was in communication with somebody prior, but she didn't really know the person, but that person got information from her, possibly on social media, and then went to the house. It might even be somebody that parents even knew slightly, but they hadn't told anybody about this person, and then that person abducted her, killed the parents, and that gives you hope that Jamie's still alive. Could also just be a predator that also I think the internet or something like that has something to do with it. I mean, the odds of some guy just showing up at the house, killing them, not taking anything. The object of the Jamie Kloss case was Jamie Kloss, in my opinion. I think that's why that person went there. All right. So again, we got off track, so back to this.
You can't rush them. You've got to go where the evidence is. And you know, we continued to gather evidence, as I said.
Yeah, something like that, Jan.
2 days
Something
ago.
like that, maybe.
So it's a cumulative process. But they certainly were the prime suspects for some time, but we've continued to gather evidence since then.
I know you said that you're limited in what you can say, and I understand that. But as far as the
Wish I wasn't, but I am.
well, I wish you weren't either. I wish you could tell us everything. But as far as the people who were actually at the crime scene that night,
Oh, by the way, Bill O'Reilly has
part of this, was she at home with the
Bill O'Reilly has the exact same setup that he uses for his online YouTube that I do. The Yeti microphone, the same shock mic, the same arm, the same pop protector. So I must be famous now. Yeah, I'm just like Bill. Oh, jeez.
people who were actually at the crime scene that night. Was Angela part of this? Was she at home with the kids?
I'm not going to
Or-
comment. I can't comment on that. Yeah, the indictment. You all can get copies of the indictment. We can make that available if they've not been made available already, and you can look at the language in the indictment.
Can you speak about the rationale to not naming the language persons of interest? considering they are
See, look at that. It's just
I
a
didn't say
different
they were
colored
really
mic.
suspects.
Everything else is the same.
What I said was they've been suspects for some time. This has been a 2.5-year investigation. You know, these were decisions that we made. And as I said, every single decision we made, every major decision we made, every decision we made was focused on finding who did it, finding the truth, and being able to successfully prosecute a case.
I just have a silver mic. He had a black one.
Well, there was some forensic evidence at the scene, and again, one of the things that we're cautioned as prosecutors is to not really talk about the evidence. So I'm not going to do that. What I will simply say is that you know, they were careful when they committed these horrendous murders. They were clearly planned and were executed very carefully.
Sheriff Ringer, can you speak to, I understand there were threats made against you and your wife and your kids, essentially a target on your head from the Wagners. Is that true?
Yeah, see that?
I can say that I had no direct
Microphone.
threat from them.
Speak up.
Wish you there, sure.
I had no direct threat from them to me. Being a sheriff and having a case like this, you use caution. I've seen their work. I know what they're capable of. So we've been very cautious, making sure that security plans have been in place in my home and others. And you know, we're still relevant today. They're all in jail. I'm very pleased.
the custody issue, is that the epicenter of the motive that you just tried for some reason to be discovered just a long time, like why? What could possibly motivate someone to do this? Is that
Custody. That's what they're talking about right now.
Yeah, again, we have to be careful what we say, but there certainly was obsession with custody, obsession with control of children. I just might tell you this is just the most bizarre story I've ever seen in being involved in law enforcement. I mean, when the entire story, as it will unfold at
listen to
trial, it is just
See, this is the part that I wanted you guys to all hear. This is
being
crazy.
involved in law enforcement.
Listen.
I just might tell you this is just the most bizarre story I've ever seen in being involved in law enforcement. I mean, when the entire story, as it will unfold at trial, it is just, it's just amazing.
I have to ask the follow-up question. With this many people targeted, there would be no one.
Isn't that crazy? Jesus.
Well, you can draw your own conclusions to that. I don't want to speculate there.
With regard to the other two arrests, could you elaborate at all about what is alleged that they did to cover up?
No, this has to do with cover-up. Again, I'll just reiterate, it does not have to do with the murder itself. It has to do with covering up.
Is it those are the two grandmothers?
That'd be correct.
Good question.
Yeah, it's two grandmothers. It is indeed. Well,
You know, this guy's kind of like Juan Martinez, but
I really am not going to
a
say
better
much
speaker.
more than that. There's a fixation. There's a question of control.
He looks like he's like that, though. I bet you if he was at trial, this guy would be good.
You know, I really, I'm not going to get in further into it.
Good question for Mr. Junk, sir. Can you explain the bonds process right now, if there is one, or the situation, and the next steps? I understand you can't give a detailed timeline,
Right.
but just to lay out the next step.
At this point, how things work is we'll be making arrangements with the Pike County Court of Common Pleas to have each of our defendants have a initial appearance through the court, be in front of Judge Reed.
By the way, if you're here and you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. We cover a whole bunch of different cases over time. I mean, usually 5 days a week we're live talking about different cases and getting really into the locations and just trying to figure out the flow of the crime. And when we're done, we all have a better understanding of it. So if you haven't subscribed, do so. Thank you.
D.D. Deering, and how bond works under the law.
That was a
it's possible to hold
public
an individual
service
who is
announcement
charged with
by
capital murder with
Nabisco.
no bond. The court has its own bond schedule. It usually refers to
Where you
in
can buy
other types of
Twinkies,
cases.
ding-dongs, and
Obviously,
ho-hos.
We will be there in court arguing bond whenever that happens. Right now, we don't have a time frame for you, but I imagine it would be in the next few days. That's one of the things we need to do actually when we're done with this, is work on the scheduling on that as well too. They're also with the defendant in Kentucky. There will need to be extradition hearings involved as well too before he's brought up before our court.
Let me just add one. I would just add one additional thing. It's my understanding that lawyers representing them would have to be death penalty qualified, so it would have to be the right lawyers. This may
This might take forever.
delay that
Yeah.
a little bit. I don't know that, but it could.
Have you completed your searches of all the properties involved here, or will there still be more reasons to go back on each individual property and re-examine them?
Well, I don't think it would be wise ever to say that we would not go back.
This guy's like
and do
a
further
character,
investigation.
you know? It's like
So I can't give you anybody that guarantee about anything.
They should
I
cast
just-
him on
I
movies
don't think that would be wise to say that when we don't know that.
or in movies.
Obviously, death penalty cases are very expensive, and there's going to be 4 of them here.
Well, I guess nobody subscribed. Oh, well.
Will the state be able to help out with those costs? Because as Sheriff Reader pointed out, small community, small staff, small budgets.
Yeah, this is a problem, and it's a much bigger problem.
Hey, look at that. We've got the Long Island serial killer in the chat. That's pretty bold to actually let people know that. I made a video about your handiwork on the highway over there on Gilgo Beach.
Than Pike County's problem, but it's exacerbated by the fact, the nature of these cases. We have 4 individuals. Pike County is a small county. We clearly have to do something in Ohio to make
Hey,
sure
that was
these
my
counties
bot
have
right
the
there, not
ability
me.
to carry out justice. And I'll let it go at that. But it's certainly been a concern of mine before the Pike County case, but it's been really driven home to me during the last 2.5 years. You know, Pike County has received some help, but it's still been a huge burden on Pike County. And the trying of capital cases certainly is.
Given how small the community is and how big this case is, prosecutor, are you confident you can handle a jury?
I don't think that guy could eat a hot dog, do you?
That is a very good question. And that is actually a question I am not able to answer.
See this guy, look at his face.
With
See?
a yes at this point, too. That will be a determination.
Just
by a
really
judge at some
smiley
point.
and-
That is a very good point to bring up as well, too. That this case has received more publicity than anything we've ever had in the county. So it may very well need to be moved to another county, but that is actually a
Yeah, I think so,
determination that will
Erica.
be made in the future. at this
4
point.
different trials too.
Their attorney more than likely request that change of venue. The judge wouldn't just up and do
No.
that.
Normally, the defense attorneys would have to ask for that.
Hey, Rob, yes, Dave.
Okay. I was going to say, I'm usually not used to using an amplifying microphone,
Yuck,
so
yuck,
I do
yuck, yuck,
apologize
yuck.
for that. The ones I talk into record my voice in court, and that is about it, so I do apologize.
No, I mean the
Your
oh God guy.
defense
He's so
attorneys would usually make
George
that
Burns.
motion. It comes down to the fact that regardless
Look, the George Burns guy. His mouth is really small, so I was just wondering if he could even eat one. That's all. Okay.
of what someone has done or been charged with, the Constitution
It's
does
my
require the right to a fair
investigative
trial.
technique.
There could possibly be fair trial issues if everyone in the community has heard of a case. So that is a possibility, but I really wouldn't want to speculate what a judge would do at this point. But I'm sure that's a determination that will be made.
Will anyone receive a cash reward in this case? There has been one.
That's not been determined yet.
Is it possible? I mean,
Well, first of all, that determination
get what I'm
will
saying?
be made by the folks who put the award up and reward up, and investigators would cooperate with them on that. But we've not really thought about that.
And then, Mike, what message would you say to anyone here in Pike County or surrounding counties?
Yeah, I told you guys
Every
it was
time you
long.
Talk to somebody who might know the family or know something about what happened. There's been this just abject fear countywide. to say
Absolute
anything to
fear.
Anybody, because if you're
It's usually used with poverty.
What could you say now that you have these
Abject.
four custody that could put people's minds at ease tonight to even open up about this story?
Yeah, we believe excuse me. We believe we have the killers. We don't believe anybody else is involved. We have absolutely no evidence that anybody else is involved. And, we want to make that very, very clear to the people of Pike County.
I think this is a case
These
where
arrests
nobody
were
will
all
have a
coordinated
problem
today,
sentencing
occurred today
them to
within a very
death.
short period of time of each other. That would be my message to the people of Pike County.
Sheriff, can you tell us what was Billy Wagner doing?
Excuse me?
Can you tell us what Billy Wagner was doing?
I have no idea. The only thing I know he was doing in Kentucky was being arrested. I don't know why.
Oh, hey, look at that. He laughed, man. Look at that.
You knew you were coming in.
The George Burns guy had a good laugh. Look at that.
That would be my message to the people of Pike County.
Yeah, look at it.
Can you tell us what was Billy Wagner doing in Kentucky?
Excuse me?
Can you tell us what Billy Wagner was doing in Kentucky?
I have no idea. The only thing I know he was doing in Kentucky was being arrested.
Ah, look at that. I gotta save that one. That's good stuff. Right there. Come on. That's a good one. He looks so happy right there. That. Got it.
I don't know why he went to Kentucky.
Did you have any evidence that you knew you were coming and was trying to?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So this was a total surprise to them.
Maybe that's why he looks familiar.
Hadn't they said in the past that they would never be taken down alive, that it would be a firefight to the end?
I'm not aware of that.
No idea.
Okay.
Not aware of that at all. No. Anybody else?
Will the suspects be kept apart from each other while in jail, in custody?
That's my intention, yes.
Anybody else?
Where are they currently incarcerated, the ones that are in Ohio?
You know, one thing I remember when this case first happened was that I guess some of the bodies or one of the bodies had money all over it, and that's why. And I think that if you think back now, that was just part of the planning to make it look like something else, right? So that's something that I haven't heard mentioned in a while. But if you remember that there was money found sort of spread around as if like it was like a cartel or something, but it had nothing to do with that. Do what again?
Wow.
Look, that's the picture right there. That's where I froze it on.
Pickaway County.
He was smiling. Okay, right
Pickaway,
there.
Franklin, Ross, Delaware, Butler. He missed that vote because he's in Kentucky. When he's done with, when we extradite back, he'll be in Butler, and then one other. There's six places. One place has two. Pickaway has two.
Sheriff, will you be able to make digital mugshots available to us? Will those come from your office once they've all been processed and you have those?
I'll make sure that Chief Bentley helps you with that. That's fine.
And then copies of the indictment that were referenced?
We have those.
Okay,
I'll get you those.
thanks.
Anybody else?
Just to be clear, all 4 whackers went to Alaska. Can you say when they came back? I know earlier there was a question about why they came back. You couldn't answer that, but can you say when?
Well, we do have that date. I'm not sure I know the date.
Springtime was what he ends up saying.
Spring?
Yeah.
Spring. Anybody else? Okay. Yeah.
Any of the suspects have weapons at the time of the arrest?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Just upstanding citizens.
Thank you all
after
very
that.
much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, hey, I'll be back here in a minute. All right. Oh crap, did I leave the mic on? Let's see, I bet you. Yeah, I knew Jim probably mentioned that above, that's what was going to happen. All right, they did put out the indictment, and I have it right here. It's actually 52 pages long, so we're definitely not going to be going over that whole thing. But you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the phone lines on for anybody who wants to call in that is somebody that's an expert in the case. You know, anybody that's been following it the whole time, okay? And I don't want anybody that thought it was a cartel or something. I don't want that call. I want the ones that thought it was the Wagner family the whole time, because there's a bunch of people that thought that, all right? You're the ones that think rationally. All right. So there you go. There's the number. And then you can let me know what you think of the case. So I did look up the word custody in here. You can see it's part of the indictment. It looks like it repeats itself a few times, this document. Unless I'm just seeing that wrong, but I've read the same thing a few different times. You get that a lot in the legal documents. See, right down here it says, George Washington Wagner III conspired, including but not limited to the following overt acts, to wit: making several purchases in the months leading up to the said aggravated murders and or aggravated burglaries, including but not. You know what I hate is legal jargon bullshit. They need to just start writing in plain English where it makes sense, okay, to everybody. You know, it makes sense. I can read it and it makes sense, but it's ludicrous. There's no reason. It's just sort of to be cool. You know, ooh, yeah, to wit. I mean, who gives a shit? You know, just say it the right way. Well, that is the right way, Gray. That's just the way they do it. Nah, it's bullshit. They're actually starting to teach to write just plain. So everybody reading it, just write well and plain, and it makes sense. Okay? Including but not limited to the following items: specific shoes from Walmart, brass catchers, items with which to build brass catchers, ammunition, a magazine clip, a bug detector. So they bought bug detectors. And or pants to build and or parts, excuse me. It's hard to read that. Parts to build a silencer. And I actually watched there's a video on YouTube. Somebody built a silencer with like a car filter. And or various other items in preparation of these crimes. Building a silencer or silencers, forging documents including forged custody documents, obtaining and sharing information. I wonder how quickly they jumped in there to get that child back, and then how quickly they moved up to Alaska. That must have been a huge red flag to the people that were following this case. They must have seen, you know, wow, I thought it might have been the Wagners, and then they all move up to Alaska? Really? Documents obtaining and sharing information regarding the victims and their properties in preparation for these crimes, to include their habits, routines, sleeping locations, physical layout of property, counter surveillance devices present on the properties, including pets. See, what does that mean exactly? Did they put listening devices and miniature cameras on the pets? Because these are counter surveillance devices on the properties, including pets, illegal monitoring of various social media accounts, destroying and or tampering with evidence of the crimes, including but not limited to a video recording device which Edward Jacob Wagner had purchased in March of 2016, a silencer video and trail cameras belonging to the victims and or phones belonging to some of the victims, moving the body of Christopher Rhoden Sr. and or the body of Gary Rhoden, providing false and or misleading information to the authorities and or various other known and unknown overt acts, and or one of the objects of the conspiracy was aggravated murder or an offense for which the maximum penalty is imprisonment for life in violation of Section 2903 of Ohio Revised Code. So I took the PDF and I converted it all to searchable text. I have, you know, the actual Adobe Acrobat, the professional version. So I can highlight text and look through it. There was something on like page 20. Yeah, see, this right here is the same exact sentence. I mean, paragraph. So it looks like they repeated things quite a few times. Might be worthwhile to go through this whole damn thing. Try to pull out some nuggets that tell a story. I think the whole case is probably alluded to in this document, but you'd have to kind of, you know, make some assumptions. See, this is that same one again. There was one with the mother, though, that I was looking at. Or I'm not sure if that's the mother or who the lady is that's been arrested, but she's probably the wife of, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe these two people are, I don't know who this is exactly right here. Let me look up that document again. I had it out earlier. Well, that's not in this document here. That's the ex-wife? Okay. Let's see, and her name, let me get that. Angela Wagner. All right, I'm going to pull up her name in this document. Identified. I remember reading something with her main, you know, the main focus of the paragraph was about her. I'm trying to find that now. Hey, look at that. Thank you, Daro. I appreciate it. Yeah, well. And there it is, the Rat song that I have playing all the time.
GN Gray and Freaks. Support my friend Gray and become a Patreon. Join us on his Patreon FB page, Grimacing Face.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Daro. Yeah, we actually donate on the 1st of the month based on Patreon and other forms of donations to the channel. And then we donate to, like, we've done EquiSearch a couple times. We did one to Abby and Libby one time. What was the one we did last time? Wasn't that the something project? I can't remember. Charlie Project, something like that. I can't remember. It was just a couple, like last week. So I think so far this year we've donated, or not this year, since we started doing it, which was about 4 months ago, is about $250. Yeah. Yeah, we're all aware of Paranormal. Well, it would be nice if there were cases that are really, they just don't have the funds, like literally, maybe that's what that charity's for, but I want to pick a specific case and they just don't have the funds for that particular case, and then do like a, get other YouTubers and then raise funds just to get that DNA over to Parabon. And because a lot of these police departments, they don't have the money, or they don't want to. I don't really know what the deal is. It seems like right now with this new technology, they should be able to solve hundreds of cases. Yeah. Okay. Well, who knows, Maddie? Who knows? I'm talking about specific cases, though. I want to be able to choose. All right. Anyways, I'm gonna keep looking through here for Angela. I wonder if they did it really stealthy, like they snuck into the house quietly and just executed them all in their sleep. Like if any of them actually woke up during it. Huh. Yeah. Guess I don't really know where that was that I found earlier, but purchased. Yeah. And for those of you who hadn't seen it, the location is in the middle of nowhere, basically. There's no street view. I'm kind of surprised there's no street view for this area, but it might have been like the Google Earth guy was probably driving around going, God, I'm not going out there. I hear banjos playing. There's no way in hell I'm going out there. But I remember looking at this thinking they look like, each house looked like a junkyard at the time. So if you so this is, let's see. This image right here is 4/25/2017. If you go back in time, let's see. Maybe not that one, but like, like right there, it looks like Stephen Avery's property almost. Look at that. Look at that. Just. So this is 7/24/2015. This must not be too long after they were. Well, it's before they were killed, right? Wasn't it? Yeah, it was 2016. So this is before that, and then the next shot would be after. So there's 4199 Union Hill Road, 4077 Union Hill Road, 3122 Union Hill Road. Now that's what I got back then. Maybe things changed and those aren't accurate anymore. But I don't even know where the next street view is. Let's see if there's even anything out here. Let's see. Is that? Whoa! Wow. something actually did get Street View there. That's incredible. Yeah, see, nothing there. All right. Well, does anybody want to call in? If not, we can just make it a shorter night. Although I might have a couple other things I could talk about. Let's see. What are these? Somebody sent me this one. Look at this crazy case. Wise County inmate suspected in more than 90 murders. I mean, this could be like one of the biggest serial killers of all time. A suspected serial killer who was housed in the Wise County Jail may be linked to more than 90 murders across the country. The Wise County Sheriff's Department said 78-year-old Samuel Little was in the county's jail facility for 50 days while investigators interviewed him about a cold case from the 1980s. Little was convicted in 2014 for the murdering, I think you need the word of there, the murdering of 3 women in Los Angeles in the 1980s. According to an Associated Press article from the time, he lured his victims with dope and then beat and strangled them for his sexual pleasure. Then he dumped their half-naked bodies in the garbage. Over the summer, he was indicted for murdering a woman in Odessa in 1994. He was extradited from California and brought to Ector County in Texas. With county Wise County officials said they made an agreement with Ector County to house Little while investigating their own unsolved case. During that time, law enforcement officials from all over the country traveled to Wise County to talk to Little about other cases. Little was cooperative and provided details for more than 90 murders going back to the 1970s. Wow. He's suspected of killing women in Texas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, Illinois, Ohio, California, Indiana, Arizona, New Mexico, and South Carolina. The FBI and the U.S. Department of Justice have interviewed him. As far as Wise County goes, Little claims he wasn't responsible. The sheriff's office is inclined to believe him. WCSO Deputy Chief Craig told the Wise County Messenger that Little didn't have any trouble explaining his role to investigators who were inquiring about murders in other parts of the country. Mostly, we were just facilitators, Johnson told newspaper. We had a case that fit his MO, modus operandi, but it turns out he wasn't responsible. Little has since been transferred back into the jail. Wow, this just came out today. I wonder, I mean, if they put the stories out there, it could just be somebody that knew or read up on them. But I mean, 90, really? I think they may have just, he's 72 years old now, or 78 years old now. He just wants to tell a story to everybody. He wants to be famous before he dies, right? So if he died without telling anybody, they would just never know. But now we'll be able to tell everybody and be famous. Yeah, it's hard to say if he's BSing, because how would he know the details of 90 cases that they seem like he knew the details of it? I didn't detect anything in the article that made it sound like he wasn't telling the truth. But I mean, I guess anything's possible. Well, that's it, everybody. Thank you for showing up tonight. I appreciate it. And thank you, Daro, for your super chat. You're always helping me out on the channel. I appreciate it. And I think right now I'm just going to do the flyby. The end of the show flyby that some of you may not have seen before. But one of these days I might talk about that case. Yeah, like Maddie sent me something the other day on the Zoe Campos. I'd heard about the case before, but I hadn't really looked into it. And then I saw that Danielle Hallen did a video on it. Sounded so similar to this blog that I read on it. But I don't know. Kind of busy. I think I do the Grand Canyon again. Yeah, the thing is work's got me really busy lately. I mean, it's kind of cool because I like my work, so I don't have as much time to spend the whole day looking through different, case files and, not case files, but different articles and different videos, so I can look at a case. I do as good as I can. I get a lot of stuff sent to me, and I read through it, and then I start mapping things out. And some of these cases are pretty interesting. All right. Look how cool. Like when the map kicks in quick, it's sweet to look through. Now let me get this number off the screen. Well, I was working before, but now I'm busy. those cases right there. All these yellow pins, right? There's even more that I've hidden. Tons of them. I guess you want to live right here. Yeah. Either that or they just don't discuss those cases on the news because they're in a part of the country that doesn't have a lot of population in it. All right, everybody. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. Thanks for the donation, Daro. And let's see. Might be doing something tomorrow. Not really sure what it'd be about. Might be about the Campos case. I do have that all mapped out. Some interesting information in there. And that's it, everybody. So, until next time, be safe out there.